Everyday people are more inclined to believe the TikTok guy because he's confident and he speaks in simple terms that people can broadly understand. It's also neatly packaged into a format that's easy to understand. It has subtitles, it's got visuals, it's a nice little short form video, not like a peer-reviewed journal article that is just all text and it's wordy and it's long and it's full of jargon that you wouldn't understand unless you've been studying in the field. So that's kind of the problem here. When everyone's voice is amplified equally, or rather when everyone's opinion is weighted equally, that's when truth starts to just sound like another opinion. Facts have become debatable, and not in the way that they've always been debatable through like scientific rigor, but because Jason, who dropped out in year 10 but watched a YouTube video one time, feels like he knows better than someone who spent a decade studying the subject. And online, it is never the most informed voices that rise to the top, it's the loudest ones. And once truth becomes negotiable, reality is for sale, and that's kind of where we're at the moment.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually.
To be fair, politicians figured this out decades ago, and that's when ignorance stopped being random and started being policy. If you can simply convince everyone that scientists and journalists and professors and professionals think that they're better than you, then you don't have to offer solutions. You just have to stoke and catalyze and validate their resentment. And then suddenly, rejecting experts feels patriotic. You're not uninformed, you're not uneducated, you're just one of the real ones with common sense. In the US today, especially, there are large groups of people who genuinely, with a straight face, think that historians and doctors and scientists and teachers and journalists have all devoted their careers to fooling them, but their lone beacon of truth is a reality show con man who has a lifelong record of fraud and deceit and scamming people. It also hits deep in like American and Australian culture because we love the myth of like the self-made man, the cowboy entrepreneur who built it himself with just grit and vibes. None of that book smart stuff. That's like the national bedtime story. Anyone can make it if they work hard enough, even though that is demonstrably untrue. The algorithm doesn't reward wisdom, it rewards certainty, even when that certainty is wrong. Facts don't sell, but personalities do, and anti-intellectualism became the cultural glue holding all of this together. When people are distracted enough, you don't necessarily have to control what they think, just what they're paying attention to. Part of why anti-intellectualism is so rampant is because people are inherently overwhelmed. We are drowning in more information than our brains can make sense of. There's too many platforms and too many messages. This isn't new either. It is a rerun of a very old show. Senator McCarthy treated intellectuals and artists as if they were like national security threats. Nixon was the one who kind of championed the silent majority, which framed students and scholars as like out-of-touch elites. It's not just an American thing, Hitler did this too. He pretty much wrote the playbook. One of the first things that Nazis did was dismantle intellectual institutions and burn books and frame scholars and artists as like enemies of the state, even though Hitler himself was a failed artist, but we don't need to touch on that right now, because anti-intellectualism always plays by the same rule book. Step one is get rid of the people who not only ask questions, but are in a position to actually find out the truth of the answers. Fast forward to today, and we're watching that same playbook play out again, just with like cringy TikTok edits and a chorus of yes men on Twitter praising it. Under Trump, we've seen direct attacks on universities, journalists, and scientists, all wrapped up in like anti-elitist rhetoric, even though that makes no sense whatsoever.